Hi guys, Polly behind the camera here with Carl from Team Shift. So what did you do this weekend?
So I went EXO at the Nottingham Regional and came first place. Chose to play Adventure Tenyi. Obviously I was playing Sangas recently, but opted on a last minute change. Just kept seeing all the DPE bricks a bit too much, so I want to play something a little bit more fun with some Tenyi cards that are honestly some of my favourite in the game.
Okay, let's see the list.
So obviously Adventure Tenyi, you've got the adventure stuff, so I'm not going to go over this at all. It's all just the standard. With the Foolish as well for the Enchantress, but obviously you can use this to send Tenyis and another card in the deck as well. Just move over those pretty quickly. I still think the Adventure Engine is just so broken, you just have to play it. And onto the Tenyis, play 3 of all of the good ones, so 3 Adhara, 3 Vishuddha and 3 Ashuna. Wouldn't cut down any of these at all of them really pulled their weight all day. And with those, got the 3 Vessel as well. Definitely better than Circle in the deck. You've also got the Adventure token that you can use to have a live vessel. Just got you to either level 7 for your Red Rose or for the Tuner to make Hulk. Was really good all day. Not so great in the second, but decided it out afterwards. And then moving on, I have a really small Swordsoul engine. All of this is just to summon off of Yazi or to search with Yugioh afterwards. I noticed that some people are cutting Longion, saying that it's maybe surplus. I opted to play it because I wasn't too familiar with how the Adventure and Tenyi cards work together, but it really came in clutch all day. Just being able to make Baron before playing if I hard drew it as well was really strong, and just searching it and being able to burn as well close to time was super good. Had that come up once when I just got to a main phase and that was it. Over to the Red Rose engine. Again, very straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. This plus a 7 gets you to a Baron, and then summon this, add this, and makes you the Hulk that you can go through the Despot with to extend your combo. All while keeping your protection up with the Baron. And then obviously the Despot, and also playing a Snow, because some hands you get to either end on the Hulk, or you can even make Shooting Riser turn 1, and having this follow up, especially with something like Blackout. Because if you have Snow and you banish Blackout on the second turn, this gives you the Tuner token that you can use to make a Berserk with just this alone, which is really good for pushing through boards. That's sort of it for the engine. So onto the hand traps. I played 3 Ash and 3 Ogre, so the mainstays of the format, wouldn't cut down on any of these. And then 2 hand traps that I wasn't so certain of before the day, but would definitely just play them again, was 3 Veiler, which along with the others is just a tuner that you can use alongside a Tenyi to make a Hulk with when you've got your adventure stuff up. And honestly, the MVP card of the day was 3 Nibiru, just game winning every time it resolved. Was really on the fence about this card with the adventure stuff and them always having like Griffin up. But often they have to put it into another card, and then that plus a Veiler or that plus an Ogre just clears the board. And even then, if they don't quite get to that, just Nib on its own was just game winning. Wouldn't have changed anything about the main deck at all, I don't think. It was 45 cards.
Yeah, let's see the extra.
So, Tenyi cards, so we have to play Monks. 2 did come up once, certainly wouldn't play any more than 2, but this was perfect. 2 Hulk. So I never used the second one all day, but in theory there are some hands where like you need to go through 2 in the first turn just to get through to like Auroradon and get some tokens. But they're sort of weird. You need like a lot of Tenyis and like a normal summon hand trap for that to happen, but it can come up. And there wasn't a lot of other, like there was quite a bit of space that you could use to put this in, so it was fine. And then the Auroradon, again just for sort of the combos that you see in Swordsoul, but with a bit more impact with the adventure stuff. And then onto the Synchros, the 10s. 1 of each of the Swordsoul ones and a Baron. Baron needs no explanation at all. I wanted to play both of these because this is really good into PK because they trigger it yourself for them to just banish their own cards for free, which is great. And this is just almost game winning into the Adventure engine because you can just banish the Fateful Adventure when they use the effect of it. You can just leave up the token, it's not threatening at all. And then you still have half of the effect left to use to get you another banish on a monster they summon. So for example on Verte. And again with the long one I was able to summon this a lot more than decks without it would be able to. And then the 8s, just one Yugioh, one Berserker, one Baxia. So because there's a lower Swordsoul count, you don't need to be playing multiples of each of these. Very often you just have this for turn 1 and then this for Baron reviving a level 4 to be able to make this to push through and OTK the next turn. Berserker didn't come up all day, but again in theory it's good to have a generic one because both of these require worms, which again with the snow plus blackout interaction you want something like this to make. For the 7s we have Yazi and Shooting Raza, so this is obviously main part of your combo anyway, but even outside of that, just having this with a hand trap and an adventure token just to be able to push through a card and then give you some form of play when you get to Tyre with this was really strong. It not being able to be targeted was really good in things like Fogblade and even through Veiler and things like that as well. And then Shooting Raza again was a target to summon off of Hulk that can send you snow, or had one interaction come up with this where I dumped an Adhara to make it 6 and use it with the adventure token to make a Baron in my opponent's turn as well. So really versatile card. And then last 2 cards was Herald. So you can make this if you open a Shuna Engrave as well as going through the Despot stuff. You can use the Despot on a token to make this, and then the Shuna to summon out Adhara, and then that makes you the Yazi. But again, ending on this when Droplets is a card is really strong because they really want to dump monsters for it, but if they have to commit a normal summon and then pitch the monster anyway, for Droplets, like, not too many decks can continue on after they've had to use a normal summon, so alongside Blackout as well, pushing through the rest of the summons that they might have was really good. And then last card was a Formula. So sometimes if you get Droplet, like for example in round 6 I got Droplet from my board, bar the Halp, was then able to use the Halp to summon this, and then use this in Yugioh to make a 10 as well, and then with the Blackout being able to put Chengying on board, protect it, pop 2, banish another one, like just one with the game versus Drytron.
Would there be anything you changed, maybe the second Hulk or anything else?
Honestly, no, there's nothing that really came up. I was considering playing the Dark Charmer at one point, just for stealing stuff like DP out the grave, and you can use it with like Vishuda, but I think that would maybe be the only thing I'd even consider testing, let alone, but I don't think I'd change anything there. It's really solid all day. And now on to the most useless part of my deck profile, because I didn't see a single one of these cards, let alone resolve one all day, but in theory they were all supposed to be good. So played 3 Droll, just the best hand trap for base decks I think, just shutting off the engine, especially with things like Illusion and Preps being played as well. Means that they're sort of just forced to make a Verte and maybe a Dagda if they can and pass on that, which is absolutely fine with the amount of hand traps to play. And Gammas as well. So with all of these, post side I have 18 hand traps going in, so it's almost impossible to not see one. And just having hand traps into the boards that people are putting out, like when you have Drago back and things to break whatever they've managed to put up, was great. I didn't play Droplets at all, so just relying on hand traps, but to be honest, if you hand trap them, like there's not too much of a board left for them to be worth dropletting anyway, so I didn't regret not playing it. And then was 1 Token Collector. This was just for Tenyi Swordsoul to be able to dump it going first with Shooting Raza. I did play against the deck, but I didn't send it, it didn't come up. And then Twins, playing these over Cosmics, mainly just for prank kids, just to try and hit the Pandemonium, and also just for back row decks you want to be able to hit more cards with it than just like Cosmic would be able to. And even then, dumping things like, for example, the Snow or just Tenyi cards means that this isn't too bad of an egg. I played 3 Enter as go first cards. Because this deck, like in theory, hard loses to like Dark Ruler, I just wanted a card to stop that. Also good for Lightning Storm or anything like that, as well as just into spell cards such as the Adventure Engine. can see it. And then last card was a reboot, UK regional, also with Eldritch seeing like a bit of popularity recently. Just wanted to have a card that just meant I could get through an OTK in that turn.
So would there be anything that you changed in the side deck before, or?
No, I think the theory was sound for it all, so I'd probably just stick to it. But yeah, I don't think there's anything that I'd really change about the deck at all. It performed really, really well for me. Yeah, I was just happy to play Tenyi cards in the deck, to be honest.
So any shout outs?